Welcome to the 5 Acres Podcast, the first in-house agency-produced program designed to provide inspiration, motivation, and concrete action steps for families struggling with issues related to adoption, residential care, and mental health. I'm Adam Haynes, trainer of evidence-based practices here at 5 Acres, joined by Brandon Ito, the Associate Director of Development, and Jake Cashill, Director of Facilities. We're the team who are going to introduce you to the wonderful and talented clinicians, residential treatment counselors, therapeutic behavioral specialists, case managers, adoption service specialists, and the many other staff members who work tirelessly to help our clients resolve issues involving mental health, foster care, adoption, and sometimes all three at the same time here at 5 Acres.
Are awesome. They're amazing. Thank you for being on here, even in the midst of not feeling well. And I know that it's no small task to take the time to do this, considering you have a home full of 5 kids right now.
Oh, wow.
How you even carve that out, I'm not even sure.
They're all hiding upstairs.
So it's time to bribe them with cookies to keep upstairs. All the snacks are upstairs right now.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So this is just a very relaxed conversation, just a time for us to kind of hear a little bit about your journey and to kind of spread some education out there for people who want to know what it's like and what you've been through, etc. So tell us, I know that your journey actually started prior to coming to 5 Acres. You actually adopted 2 kids before we even met. So tell us a little bit about what that journey was like.
You're better with dates.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, and who gets to talk first, right?
Yes. So we have Cameron and Jasmine, and we adopted them. They are my biological niece and nephew. We adopted them in 2012, but we got them in October of 2009.
So were you expecting it?
No.
What was happening in your lives at that time that kind of fell on your laps?
No. It was a Thursday mid-morning, and got a call from the local police department saying that they had arrested my brother and his wife, and they had taken custody of the 2 kids, and would we be willing to come down to the police station and bring them into our home. So
Just what I was saying is, in that phone call, not only was it a surprise, but we were only supposed to have them for a couple of days, and it turned into a lot of years. And unfortunately, we were able to provide them with a forever home. But that was a weird day. I think I was home with my sick daughter at the time. So, and we were kind of new in our relationship. So no, it was completely unplanned.
So at the time, you're both working for Sheriff's Department.
Correct.
You have a biological daughter at home, and then this call comes through.
Yes.
So a few days turns to forever.
Mm-hmm.
So they came to you in 2009. And what was the date that you gave me in 2012, Gina? What happened? Was that when the adoption was finalized?
yes, in July of 2012.
Okay. So then we meet December 2014.
Yeah.
So you were ready to dive right back in. Tell me about what that's like. What were you going through in your home at that time with 2 children adopted, kind of, gaining your feet, and then meeting us in 2014? What made you take that call?
Cameron, our eldest, wanted a little brother, and he was surrounded by women in the house, and we had a couple of years of having 3 kids in the home, and at that point we'd been together 8 years, I think. And so I think we felt a little bit more established. And one night I was just kind of thumbing through Facebook and saw an ad for a Raise a Child event in one of the neighboring cities, and we decided to go to it.
You showed up in the rain. It was full downpouring that night. So to drive out from your home to Rancho, you came to Claremont. What was your hope at that point? Were you thinking little brother for Cameron, regardless of age, or were you thinking baby? Where was your inclination at that point?
We were kind of all over the place. I myself wanted something little, a little baby you can hold in your arms and cuddle with. Dana's not really that crazy about babies because they don't do anything. Except cry. So she was looking for something a little, a child a little bit older. But I don't know. I think we were just going to get some information and to see how that would play out for our family.
Yes. We both worked for the sheriff's department at the time. Both of us had assignments in our child abuse division within the department, and really had seen the need for foster children in the system to have loving, nurturing homes, whether it be respite care or a short amount of time or until they reunified, or in our case, we wanted to do adoption. So that's what led us to, that's what called us to this Raise a Child event, because they were looking for homes for children that were in the foster system. So all of that put together brought us to that particular event, and I want to say it's probably one of the best events that has happened, and we met so many people there, and including you, Yvonne, and it just really spoke to us and started us on our journey the second time around.
Yeah. So wow. You were living it and you were working it, like it was on all ends.
Yes.
Child abuse. Adam, you were going to say something?
No, it just sounded like a fantastic event. I was just curious, is this one of the ways that you reach out to people, or is this a main way that you get people connected? I hadn't heard of the events before. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, so Raise a Child, we work with them. So we have a collaboration with Raise a Child.
Oh, okay.
They have events in the community where they're speaking to people who are potentially interested in fostering and adopting. And so this particular event was just for us. So it was no other agencies invited except for 5 Acres. And we met amazing families at that event. Mm-hmm. In fact, a lot of the cohort that came through with Gina and Dana, I always do that. I mix their names to like one. So a lot of the people that came through in that particular cohort, they actually remain friends today. They, went through multiple events, like developments around the same times, right? So adoptions happen around the same time, etc. with those other groups.
Oh, it just sounds really supportive.
Yeah, you know what awesome. They have, Adam? They have this little side WTF text group, a little text group. So when they need support, it's they just reach out to each other and have, what do you call it? What do you guys have? The happy hours, and
it's just a safe place where we as parents are experiencing some trials and tribulations, and good things and bad things, where we can just kind of go on this little thread and just let it all out without anybody,
with people
without judgment. And so it's really nice. It's a nice, comforting spot to land when you are having a troubled day.
Yeah, that's great.
Sometimes those acronyms can be really confusing, but I feel like that one, I know exactly what's going on.
It means exactly what you think it means. 100%.
So that year when you first came through, back in, we met in the winter of 2014, you started training in January of 2015. That was a difficult year for you. I know specifically for Gina, that was a difficult year with the passing of your mom. And still there was commitment to continue and to do this. So it's just amazing that you guys managed to do that in such a tough year. So tell me what it was like now getting that first call.
Yeah, so I actually had the pleasure of getting the first call, And I did the opposite of what you advise us to do, which is just say yes without getting any answers. So I got a call that said, we have this little 2-year-old boy. And before she could even finish, I said yes. And we got the call, I believe it was on a Tuesday afternoon. She said it would be a couple of days of transition and that we would have him by Friday. And those were some really, glorious few days. I was part of the PTA at one of our kids' elementary schools. I'm not even sure how they did it, but Thursday they threw us a baby shower and presents, and we just had everything we could ever dream of needing before he even walked into our house. So that was pretty amazing, and we've had him ever since.
Wow, so that's a huge community that you guys have. So now, one thing that's unique about your story is that you have accessed multiple parts of, sorry, my words are kind of stuck on me. It's because Adam's staring at me over here on the screen. It's all you, Adam. So you've accessed multiple services. So you've not only done the foster care, you've accessed intensive services foster care, respite service, and APSS, which is adoption, promotion, and support services within this division. So I want to know, before we go on to tell me about ACE's journey, you had the opportunity at one point to also to do respite and to take in a placement of a baby that you were hoping, because your first placement was actually not a baby, it was a 2-year-old that you said yes to.
Right.
On a dime. So tell me a little bit, because what I enjoy about your story and what is so beautiful is the relationships that you guys have continued to have with biological family for that little one that you took care of. But it didn't start there. It started with your respite that kind of had you go through that journey. So tell me about saying yes to respite. Or maybe talk about what is respite. Tell me about what is respite from your perspective.
Well, for us, it was just an emergency placement where this particular little baby needed a place to stay for about a week until her foster family could move into a new home to make room for her. They previously had her for a little while, and then she and her sister, that both siblings were reunited with their parents and then subsequently taken away. So yeah, we had her for a week. We called her Baby J, and cutest little thing.
So much hair.
So much hair. And she really did steal our hearts. Just in that week, it was beautiful to have this little baby, and watching the kids and just kind of fawn over her, and a little nerve-wracking, but we knew, it's only a week, so no big deal. We can do this. And
did you go camping your first weekend with her?
Yes, it was right before Christmas, and we had
that's right, we took her camping.
Yeah, we had plans to go camping, so she got to go camping with us down in San Diego and
meet Santa,
and yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So that gave you baby fever, I'm imagining.
Oh,
she always has baby fever.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's something about like not downplaying this particular respite experience, because you really did help a family put siblings together. So this family needed to move into a bigger place, but while they were moving, they needed a home for baby. So you're willing to kind of extend your home to the community to help them kind of bridge that so that they can put all siblings together.
Ace had biological siblings and several different siblings. We had become accustomed to and wanted to have him have continued relationship with those biological siblings. So to find out that there was a family that wanted to take in a sibling but needed some help making that happen, and we had the space to be able to help, we wanted to do that. And we saw how important it was for Cameron and Jasmine to stay together, and what their relationship was and their shared experiences to help them
get through everything that they had to go through during the time that they were removed from their biological parents. So it was important to us to be able to assist in that in some way.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because that's being able to stay focused not only on what your goal is for your family, but the bigger picture. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. So I thank you guys so much for that. And now let's talk about then Ace. So you brought in Ace at 2 years old. Talk about his family. Talk about the baby that came in. His sibling actually joined you for a little while. Let's dive into that story.
Well, I remember her calling me and telling me that, hey, they called and we're getting a 2-year-old. And again, she didn't ask any questions. So when I was asking her the question, she didn't have any answers. Just, I don't know, he's coming. Here's a picture. So we didn't know that he had siblings. We didn't know his story. We just knew that he was a 2-year-old that wasn't fitting in the home that he was in. So what day did you say he came? On a Thursday? Friday. So of course I stayed home from work and we waited all afternoon for this little guy to come, and it happened. And I just remember looking out the window, and the social worker was getting him out of the car and walking down the driveway with him. And he was so little, and he didn't know what was happening. He went to sleep in one foster home and woke up and he was getting walked into another foster home.
Wow.
It was just like, what do you say? Here came his little trash bag, and he had some clothes in there that were a size or two small, and a few toys, but fortunately we had a couple days to prepare, so we had toys ready for him. And he came to the home, and I just remember he just looked around. He didn't say anything. He didn't cry. He was just taking everything in. And we were asking the social worker a lot of questions. And that's when we learned that he had other siblings and had been in a number of homes. I think we were his sixth or seventh home at that age, at that young age. And that he was the youngest of 9. At the time, his father was in prison for domestic violence. So there was just so many things that he had already been exposed to at that age. And I just remember looking at him going, well, he's never leaving this home. This is going to be his place. And he eventually, I mean, he fit in pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And so he came to us in April, and by November he had a younger brother who had been born. And at the time we didn't think that we were prepared or ready for another baby, because we had a lot going on. I'll let you tell that part of the story.
So before you do, Gina, it's interesting that you said, Dana, that as soon as you saw him, you thought, well, he's not leaving this home. He's going to stay. And you are also the same person, in the same breath, you can easily say, oh, I don't even like children. That you come into this process, you've opened your doors, you're committed, and you're 100% like D Mama is what the kids call you. And you can also proclaim to, not like children. So it's funny to me, obviously, because I know your heart, but it does kind of speak to the fact that that all you need is kind of the heart for the service, and that in itself is gonna drive people or get people to achieve some fantastic things, like you have. And so one of the things, Adam, that I have heard is a little audio recording of Ace singing in the shower how much he loves D Mama. The same one who claims not to love children gets her own like serenade in the shower. Maybe how much.
They're 2 peas in a pod. She is his person for sure.
Well, and I would have never guessed that was going to happen. I mean, he really did have my heart within a couple of hours. I've never been that person that wanted a big family. I've never been the big baby or kid person. I like them a little more in the abstract, I think, than in the concrete. But I learned very quickly how having a loving, nurturing space can really change their trajectory. And he chose me as his person, and I want to be that person for him. And I probably get more out of that relationship than he does. But yeah, and then especially when you hear their story, when you start hearing that their backgrounds and that they have been bounced around, that just pulls at the heartstrings. So you can be surprised at how, even with the difficulties, how much you love them and how much you get out of it.
I just hear so many twists and turns, so many unexpected things happening. But the big theme that seems to be emerging for me is what you were saying, Yvonne, is just being able to have that open heart. That's the strength. That's what gets you through. That's what sees you through. And that's what turns this unexpected stuff into this. It sounds magical. It sounds really, really cool.
Yep, agreed.
Well, and I hear people all the time say that they worry about us, and that they don't think that they could do this because it would hurt their heart. And we have been through that. We have had losses during this journey, but you really need to see past that. And if you don't open your heart to something like that, you're really missing out. And it's the children that actually really miss out. I guess it takes some courage and bravery and some willingness to be hurt, but we survived that and are okay with knowing that what we gave to those children that we didn't get to keep with us, hopefully it's going to help them throughout their entire lifetime.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Wow.
There's something pretty symbolic about the took the plunge that's right behind you.
I noticed that.
You sure did take the plunge. So at this point, you have your biological daughter, Dana, Cameron and Jasmine. You have Ace with you, and then you get a call for Ace's sibling. So full house. What's the decision at that point?
Well, so initially the decision was no. We'd already seen.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, initially the decision was no. When he was first born, we declined because we were already seeing some behaviors from Ace that we were trying to deal with that we hadn't had from some of the other kids. So initially it was no. And then we did the week-long respite with the baby because it was just a week. And then we got the call again, and it was from some friends from 5 Acres that who had the baby in their custody, and they too felt the need to put Ace and the baby together, and they saw how we felt about having baby Jay for the week. And so Dana and I discussed it, and for I think about maybe an hour or so, and we decided to take him
call
on.
him Benji. That's not his real name, but we call him Benji.
Yeah, so we decided to take Benji on, and really just one of the best things we've ever done, I think. Just really, it was a great experience. Heartbreaking, but a great experience.
So heartbreaking because ultimately he did reunify, but
Yes.
There's also beauty in that breaking, because you do maintain a relationship with him, his siblings, and biological father who you support.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So we saw this gentleman, Benji's dad, and the initial reports of him weren't very favorable. And then I started, taking Benji to visit his dad at DCFS. and Dad would just light up when he saw him, and the way he was with him, you could just tell there was some genuine love and affection for his son. And you could see how hard he would work during those visits to learn. I mean, he didn't know how to take care of a baby at all, but
which was in sharp contrast to how the mother responded during those visits.
Yeah.
You could really see how one was the victim in all of this and didn't really put forth any effort, and then Benji's dad putting forth effort and walking to DCFS because he didn't have a car and never being late, and the genuine, like you said, the genuine love and affection for his child. So we ended up, even though we knew it was going to hurt us, we kind of ended up being
champions of his.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
we were on his side.
and I think that that's the best for that situation. You go into it thinking, man, I love this baby and I want this baby to be ours forever. But then you see that here's a dad, of all things, a dad. I mean, that's kind of not the norm. Here's a dad fighting for his kid. And, if there was something that we could do to help that dad, we were certainly going to do it because that's the right thing to do. So, when it was time for
8 months later.
8 months later, when it was time for them to reunify, it was extremely difficult. Not a dry eye in the house, but we helped him. What we had of the babies, we gave to Dad, and he was appreciative, and he continued to, he sends us pictures of him. We see him every so often, and that's what this is about. We talk so much about adoption and filling our needs, but it's also about what those families' needs are as well. Like, that's the best place for the baby to be. If the baby can be safe with a biological family, that's our job, to make sure that we help that along.
And I think that, over those 8 months, we were the monitors for the visit between Benji and his father, which could be a contentious relationship, but we both kind of went into it open, and I think he saw that we had a genuine love and interest for his son, and that we were also on his side and champions for him. We weren't looking for reasons to tear down that relationship for our own needs. So I think that just is what created that situation where we could maintain contact and friendship after the reunification, and we still spend birthdays together and Christmas, and we've had him over to the house, and he knows that he can call us if he does need respite care. We've done respite care for him, or if he needs some help move into another location, and we're always open to that.
God, it's so beautiful.
We're going to take a quick break in this Permanency episode with Gina and Dana to talk about the 5 Acres Hope Line. 5 Acres is here for children and families in need. If you or a loved one are seeking help for mental health issues such as depression, hopelessness, anxiety, or behavior problems, we're here for you. You can start by calling or texting our Hope Line at 1-800-696-6793 or sending us an email to hope@5acres.org. And while our Hope Line isn't a 24/7 crisis line, 5 Acres staff will reply within 1 business day to all text calls or emails. And that's 1-800-696-6793 or email at hope@5acres.org, and that's hope@5acres.org. And if you would like any information on foster or adoption services, please check out our website at 5acres.org. Now, back to the episode.
God, it's so beautiful. I know you also had the extended siblings together as well. So in terms of Ace and Benji, who are related, there's other siblings within that group that you welcome to your house from time to time. And just like that, what gets me about your story is that your community, you purposely make it large, right? So it's not just who comes into your home and the fact that you are a large family, but you make sure to connect with other foster parents, and in some cases sight unseen. So Adam, one of the things that Gina and Dana have done, they hosted a barbecue at their house, sight unseen, because another foster parent said, hey guys, I have 4 kids in my home, I need support. And they just extended this invitation to like, hey, everybody come and show up at our house. And I think, what was it, like 12 families that ended up showing up?
There's a lot of people here. There's a lot more kids than adults, that's for sure.
You're outnumbered. The outnumbered is probably the norm for you guys at this point.
All the time.
So
yeah, that wasn't ever the plan. These are things that just happen as we go. But we have learned, I mean, it really is true that it takes a village to raise a child. And I'm fortunate to have extended family. But in addition to that, like Gina said in the beginning, it was the PTA at school. And then we've maintained contact with people and the founder of Raise a Child, and the people that we went through the training with at 5 Acres and other families. And they've just proven to be such a good support system. And we're here for each other, and we can do respite for each other, or lean on them. Or the other day, someone sent out a message, hey, does anybody have a truck to help us move? And we were trying to find trucks. Today I read on one of our Facebook posts that someone's son broke their wrist. Well, my kid broke his wrist last week, so we talked a little bit about casts and what to do about the itchiness. So and just that support system has, for us, and maybe other people's story is different, but for us, that support system has been invaluable.
Oh yeah, we couldn't do it without all the different people, and it's just.
So at this point now, another change happened. So in the middle of the night, sometime a few years ago, you get another call. Tell me about
another
that.
plot twist. Oh wow, okay.
It doesn't end.
We still have Benji too.
Yeah. So again, our family likes to go camping. It's kind of our thing. So luckily we weren't camping too far from here. We were camping in San Dimas or Pudding Stone. And we get a call from my brother, who had another kid, and he was 5 at the time, and with some special needs. And my brother struggles with drug addiction, and so does his wife. And they were just losing their battle and couldn't take care of little Paul anymore. So they decided that the best decision was to go ahead and kind of sign him over to DCFS. That was a hard decision because at the time, Cameron and Jasmine didn't know they had a biological brother. And so we were faced in the middle of the night, faced with, what do? We already have 5 kids in the home. This is our kid's biological brother. They don't know about him because of various reasons.
We had a baby.
We were leaving for Missouri the very next week, leaving out of state. And we knew that this was in July. We knew that in just a few weeks we would be experiencing most likely the loss of the baby going back to dad. So there was a lot happening, and we had a few hours to make a decision on whether we would take Paul in or not.
We took the plunge.
So we took the plunge.
That's our life's motto.
Yeah, we sat the kids down, explained to them that kind of that feeling they had in the back of their head that they had a younger sibling was true, that the reason why we had kept it from them for all those years was, was A, B, and C. And we had an opportunity to take this boy in, and did they want to? And none of them said no. I mean, they were like, yes, let's go home right now. So we did.
Wow.
We left our camper, our trailer where it was parked, and we came home, and with the help of 5 Acres and our social workers and just numerous calls, because it was a
Different county.
It was a different county. It was San Bernardino County, where we live, that was going to place Paul in our home, but we had an LA County kid. There were some issues there, legal wise, and I don't really know exactly what they were, but I know that there was going to be some issues. So luckily, we got some help from 5 Acres, and you guys really did a great job of navigating through that and getting us settled. And Paul arrived at our house about 2:00 in the morning. Again asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, he got carried in by the social worker, and he had one sandal on. It was filthy, and the poor kid woke up here, and that was, what year was that? 2017. And he's been here ever since. We adopted him about a year later, and he's just ours. So yeah, there's a lot of plot twists. A lot of there's no easy way for us to do anything in this house, that's for sure.
And he's made a lot of improvements since he's come to your hometown.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when he came with nothing.
Yeah.
A lot of behaviors consistent with autism that we weren't familiar with. So there's another instance where we really had to reach out to 5 Acres and the various groups there to help us deal with that and get him into school and get an IEP and speech and
regional center help,
occupational therapy and all of those things. So there's 2 different instances where we've really had to rely on our agency to get us the support that we need to benefit the children and help with their education and their behaviors and therapies.
Just tell me how he's doing now.
Oh my gosh, he's amazing. I mean, he's definitely developmentally delayed as far as he's in 3rd grade, but probably more along the lines of a kindergartner, 1st grader mentality wise. But man, that kid loves school.
Now that he can speak, he never stops talking.
Yeah, he doesn't stop talking. And he's reading. He's just a charismatic little guy. I mean, he loves to sing. He loves to dance. He will watch a movie and then recite that movie, like scenes from it, over and over and over again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's
there's a lot of Beauty and the Beast in this house.
Yeah, Coco was a big one for us for a long time. But yeah, so one great thing for him that just happened is, because he's in special education, our district just last week allowed the special students with in special education to go back to campus learning. So he got to go back Wednesday on campus last week, and I got so many different messages from the different people on campus saying how happy he was and just what a joy it was to have him there, because even though he had a mask, they could just tell he was just grinning from ear to ear to be there. So it's kind of cool.
So, I mean, we can keep throwing different twists and turns at Adam the whole night through with all the stories that you guys have.
Oh yeah.
I do want to know that this is a question I don't ask you very much, but I do want to know about your experience with APSS. So APSS, Adoption Promotion Support Services, is intended to help families throughout their adoption journey. I think sometimes for people who have navigated foster care, it is something that they are not really ready to take on, kind of an extra service, because they want to be done with us for a little while. But there's so many benefits, right? So just from an outside perspective, being able to kind of manage the experience of building a family and a family that, basically crumbled, right? So you're kind of holding two at the same time, the loss of one family and the gain of an adoptive family. So it's definitely one of the benefits, but you guys are in it. So you're in the groups, you're part of that process. Tell me a little bit about your experience with APSS.
Well, I think it's been a great experience, and I apologize for missing the last meeting, but the Dodgers were just winning the World Series at that point, so I couldn't tear myself away. But I think APSS has been great for us. A lot of times we have this misguided thought that, well, once the kids are adopted and they know they're loved, they're okay now, and that's certainly not the case, because. And we're not okay now either, because they are dealing with still the loss of who they were prior to coming into your home, and who they are now, and then who they are going to be in the future, and how they're going to navigate all of that. And that's something that, I'll be honest, I didn't really think of too much with Cameron and Jasmine. It just seemed really like, oh, they're fine. And as they've gotten a little bit older, we're noticing these things come up for him. They're 16 and 12 now, and we're noticing these issues about adoption and about their identities and that have come up. And that's where their APSS counselors and therapists have really come in handy, because those people have personal experience with that, and can help them, guide them through what they're feeling and going through.
And there's a lot of times that, so it's an opportunity for them to have people to talk to other than us, because I think sometimes they're afraid to talk to us, that they might hurt our feelings. They're talking about missing their biological parents, or having Paul come into the house was kind of brought up some painful things, especially for Cameron. Paul has his dad's name. So this was an opportunity for them to have therapists and people there for them that didn't necessarily have to be us or their aunts and uncles and people that are trained in this. And when we first adopted Cameron and Jasmine, we didn't have an agency. We did it just through DCFS. And I just remember that being a really kind of lonely feeling. We had a social worker that popped in once or twice a month, but we didn't know that there was support out there. There were things that we didn't know about, and you don't know what you don't know. So it was through our relationship with 5 Acres for ACE that we learned about all these other services that were available for our children that had already been adopted for years. And that has been a great help for us and for them.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, we have
get closer too.
We have therapists in the house almost every day at this point, and it is a little awkward at first. You kind of alluded to that, where you're like, well, once you're done with fostering, you kind of don't want people in your home anymore, because you've had so many people and so much paperwork and all of this. But we've really kind of have the opposite for us, because we just embrace all of our service providers, because we couldn't do it without them. I mean, there are days, especially with our young, with Ace, where we need them here. We need them here for him. We need them here for us. And, same thing with our eldest, he's 16. 16 is a really rough age. And neither one of us have been 16-year-old boys. So we don't have that point of view to help him, and his therapists and the rehab specialist that works with him, kind of really help shed light on a lot of things for us.
Yeah. I'm just thinking a million things as you're sharing. So you caught me off guard. The story was over and you got me like,
Sorry.
so one of the things I was thinking is when you were talking about the APSS component is that one thing that I can guarantee families when they go through this process, especially when they're ultimately hoping to adopt through this process, right? So when it comes to adoption, obviously, or foster care, the first goal is to reunify with biological family. It isn't always possible. In those cases, then we move toward adoption, or the case tends to go in that direction because we want kids to achieve permanency. If it's not with their biological family, then with adoptive homes. So when people come in with this perspective, there's a little bit of massaging that I have to do in order to get them to understand the role of foster care, the goal of foster care, and that if they're looking to expand their family, foster care is going to exponentially grow your family in ways that you hadn't imagined, right? With this experience of biological families in this community, and you know, there's just so much that grows from this process. It's just a matter of changing perspective, or that initial kind of goal that people have. The other thing that I wanted to speak to is, you know, we have mentioned a couple of times ACE's needs. So one of the other programs that you guys have been involved in, or are involved in, is intensive services foster care. So this program was put into place to help children with higher needs. The needs are essentially going to be stemming from, you know, significant trauma. He came to you at the age of 2, had moved multiple times, and, you know, had experienced significant trauma. So in managing and helping him kind of meet his needs, you're involved in this program, which is intended to help kids with higher needs stabilize. So that means that you have a social worker, a therapist, a rehab specialist in your home, just a team of people there to help you. I'm so glad just to hear, you know, based on your perspective, that you welcome these people in, because that really is kind of the make it or break it things of, like, you know, are people resistant to the services, or are they welcoming it? Because if you're welcoming it, then you're willing to try it, you're willing to work for it, etc. And obviously, based on everything that you've said so far, it's clear that you guys are willing to work for it because of your relationship with ACE, because of your commitment to ACE, and because of your commitment to a family as a whole. What can you tell me about that program? So we'll keep it brief because there's still some stuff kind of happening, you know, with ACE and his process. But what can you tell me about what your experience has been with helping him kind of manage those needs, and your experience with the program altogether?
Well, so it's not an easy program to be a part of. I can tell you that, because it is so, I can't think of the word right now, but there's so much to it. You know, you have the therapist that comes once or twice a week. You have the rehab specialist that comes once or twice a week. Then you have the social worker that comes once a week. And in the beginning, it can feel a little overwhelming that all of these people are trying to help you. And, you know, for us, we're like, we've had kids, we're fine. Yeah. We can do this. We've got this.
Which is really common, right? Everybody says the same thing.
Yeah.
But you
closer, Dana.
Every kid has a different need. You know, some of our kids have ADHD, some have reactive attachment disorder, we have oppositional defiance disorder. These are things that I wasn't prepared or trained to deal with, but I need to know how to deal with them to benefit my child, and that's the ultimate goal. So yes, it's time intensive, and at first, like she said, it was overwhelming, but now we're to the point, like, are you guys going to be here yet?
Yes.
Because school's starting and he's saying no. So it's been super helpful. You just have to be open for it. And I just like to share that I had back surgery last year. So I was in the hospital and I couldn't help. And they were here at the time, they were still in school. So they drove him to and from school. They were here to help with the other kids. They were here to help Gina
manage the day-to-day stuff, not just the behaviors, but whatever the whole family needed at the time. And that really eased some of my fears and my guilt for having surgery and not being able to be here for Gina. And I'm assuming that it really helped you and the kids. So all you have to do is ask. And if it's something that they can provide and get together to provide or brainstorm different issues, that's what they're here for.
Well, and you really have to get. I'm stubborn. I'm not gonna.
And a control freak.
And a control freak. So for me, having people in the home and having this kid who just doesn't listen to me. I mean, wow, how is this even possible? You know, I'm a good parent. The child whisperer. She's the one that doesn't like kids.
And we're big bad cops.
And we're big bad
You're
cops.
supposed to listen to us.
How do you not listen to us? And he doesn't, or he didn't. And so it was a big transition to have, you know, these service providers in the house and here all the time. And I kind of remember when I turned the corner of that, when it's like, no, they're just part of our family now. I mean, you know, it's like your mother-in-law's coming to the house, you know, so you want to make sure everything looks just perfect. And then there becomes a point where your mother-in-law moves in and you're just like, it is what it is. So, you know, sometimes they come and my hair's done and I'm, you know, got nice clothes on. And sometimes they come and I've got my baseball cap on backwards and my hoodie and my pajama shorts on. And they don't even think twice about that anymore. They're just like, hey, how's it going? You know, and that has really been the refreshing part of it for me, that just putting my own guard down and realizing that once I put my guard down, it's going to help our family, you know, better. And the amount of advice and books and sessions with them has been really helpful for not only our relationship with Ace, but our relationship with our other kids and our own personal relationship. Because it's, you know, it can be trying on a relationship to have so many different moving parts in the house, so many different personalities. And, you know, we get along really well, but we don't always agree on everything.
You guys make it look easy, even in midst of sharing all this that sounds really overwhelming and difficult. You make it look easy because the will to make it work is there. What would you say to somebody who's listening to this and listening to it maybe with the filter of, I hear only difficult parts? What would you say to people who think that maybe they can't do it?
Oh, you know, there are wonderful, wonderful parts to it. We went camping again. I told you it's kind of our jam. And last weekend, and it was raining, and all weekend it rained. And we thought, man, these kids are gonna have said they had a horrible time. And every single one of them said it was the best camping trip. They had so much fun. And those are the moments where, you know, the fit he threw doesn't matter. You know, breaking curfew doesn't matter. All of the different little things that can be the negative, so to speak, with kids. You know, it just takes that one smile. It just takes that one moment where they run past you and tap you on the leg and say, I love you. And then they run off. Where those types of moments kind of reaffirm the day-to-day grind of everything. And it's the same thing that you deal with in your relationship with your spouse. It's not always honky-dory. You would like it to be, but it's not always. But there's those moments where, you know, those quiet moments that you realize the blessings that you do have.
Well, and you get to celebrate their wins with them also.
Yeah.
I mean, on our camping trip a couple weeks ago.
Closer, Dana.
Paul learned to ride a bicycle.
We went from he's never going to be able to do anything for himself, and he learned to ride a bicycle, and he read a book to us. And Ace, he's having some difficulties in school, but he hit his goal for sight words, and that was a big deal for him because he got to hear his name on Proud Board. And then I can have a horrible day, and every night I put the boys down. And last night I was putting them down, and Ace just out of the blue said to me, Z Mama, you're the best mama. And I was like, well, why, buddy? What makes me the best mama? And he said, because you cook for us. And so there was a positive. I made chili, and I didn't think they'd like it, because half the time they don't like what I make. But it's those little things, and you don't know when they're coming. But when you can celebrate those wins, and then when you know that they do feel safe, that's huge.
Yeah, definitely.
And raising kids, biological or not, is not easy. It's a hard job.
I was going to say that. So, some people think, well, no, I'll just have biological children because I don't have to deal with issues. But then I'll ask Gina, what were you like as a child, Gina?
An angel. No, I was less than pleasant a lot of the times, and my mom's been gone for a little over 5 years. Just the other day, I was having a kind of a pity party type thing, and just basically talked her up in heaven and said, "I'm so sorry how I treated you when I was a kid," and it was a heartfelt sorry too, because I'm getting it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure she's up there giggling at me right now. So.
Yeah, so, it's kind of that human experience, right? They were helping other humans navigate times when there's upheaval in their lives, or when they're learning to manage and make sense of their experiences, and you're catching that all early. We can easily run across these people in our daily lives when they cut you off, or when they curse you out in public, or whatever, just random people as you imagine throughout life that haven't had anybody to kind of help them manage their story and to make sense of their experiences. And you guys are doing it every single day. Your rubber is meeting the road for sure. You guys are making skids as you're doing it.
We're leaving skid marks.
Yeah.
Like you said, them learning to navigate life. Our teenagers have jobs now, and we're working through how to manage your money. And Cameron just paid his first bill for the motorcycle that we helped him buy, and and I can tell that even though I feel like I'm just talking to the wall sometimes, I can tell that they hear us, because every so often they say it back to us.
Or we hear them reiterating it to the other
right. And they've turned out to be, stewards for the environment. We talk about things like recycling, and when we go camping, you leave it better than you found it. And that's what we hear them saying. And they're the ones walking around talking to people about adoption and fostering. And we hear their friends saying, that's really neat. I'd like to foster. And we rescue animals too. So, you're
That's
really
right.
leaving. Yeah.
Adam, Dana wants a zoo on top of what she has right now.
Yeah.
She would have every single animal in the zoo if she could.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I need a goat in pajamas.
Yeah.
That's what I need next, because we have horses, dogs, cats.
Whoa.
But so, that's really leaving the legacy behind. And it's not, that's not how we started, but that's just where this journey is taking us.
Yeah. So if you had to give like a final piece of advice, what would it be?
Take the plunge. That turned out to be so funny. That was our motto for our wedding. We were supposed to jump in a lake. But really, if you have interest, really look into it. I wouldn't do it again without an agency, just because I've done it both ways, but you really will get so much out of it. What do you have to say?
Yeah, just kind of that same thing. Just you won't regret doing it, but you will regret not doing it. So years down the road, if do it and it's too late, it's better to have done it and tried it. And if it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you, and that's okay too. But what if you do it and it's the best thing you've ever done in your entire life? And that's,
And what's more important in life than changing a child's life? And
it sounds like it changes your life too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like she said, we're not going to lie and say it's all hunky dory, but I wouldn't want it the other way. It's made me grow as a person. It's made our relationship grow.
Our family too.
Yeah, it's benefited our whole family. The kids are really close to their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, and the cousins that they got out of it, and the other. There's just so many things that it brings to you that you really don't know that it would unless you jumped in and did it.
So, Dana, you got through this without crying?
Oh, I almost did, though.
I didn't.
Yeah, as soon as I start talking.
I never do.
Gina's a squeaker. Dana, and then we can get her to tear up a little bit.
It's always that part where he comes walking down the driveway, because I'll never forget it. And I knew right then I haven't even talked to him yet. He wasn't even front door, and I committed then. Yeah. Because I just couldn't let him have to make that walk another time. Well, I gotta stop.
Oh.
I gotta stop.
I saw it. That bubbling right there.
Thank you both. I appreciate you. You are phenomenal. And I hope that you take with you in that moment when you're feeling just like, wiped out and tired, that we think the world of you guys.
No, right back at you. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I mean, I really appreciate it. This was an area, as a clinical social worker, I mostly focus on mental health, and I feel like I have learned a lot. And it seems like there is so much about just expanding, growing. And I feel like I'm growing as a result.
Well, anytime you want to hear about the roller coaster, just let us know.
Because every day is something new.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's part of the growth. It definitely keeps us on our toes.
What keeps us on our toes helps us to grow. I was going to say grows, but yeah, right. Yeah.
Thank you both. Any more questions for you, Adam?
No, I have so much here now to think about, but like I said, the bravery to face challenges head on, the bravery to be vulnerable, the gifts that you get even when you are losing, how love is expanded, and it just seems like family and community grow in ways that people just aren't even aware of until you experience it. So I just really appreciate you encouraging people to embrace the experience. I mean, that just sounds so positive.
Well, thank you.
That'll do it for us here at the 5 Acres Podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and concrete action steps for families struggling with issues related to adoption, residential care, and mental health. Thank you to all of you out there for joining us. And remember, you can find all the links and numbers we've spoken about today at our site's page and at 5acres.org.